Kia ora koutou. It's 3 o'clock, and welcome everybody to the Wastewater Treatment Plant and Landfill Joint Committee, 7 November 2023. Thank you to all those who are watching in from over the interwebs. Let us just remind ourselves that members are reminded that this meeting is being live streamed, as I've alluded to, but please use your microphones with the button attached. I'll lead out with our karakia, toru whā. Whakataka tahau ki te uru, whakataka tahau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā tātara ki tai. E hi ake ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora. Kia ora. We have no apologies, so we will move on to public forum. We have a request to speak from Murray Wright for 5 minutes. Murray, why don't you come to the stage, to the table? While you're doing that, I'll just point out that each speaker has 5 minutes to speak, including the questions. A bell will be rung at the 4-minute mark and again at the 5-minute mark. Members can ask questions of clarification only and cannot enter into debate with speakers. Speakers should just take note of the restrictions and standing orders, including that matters which are subject to separate hearing processes must not be discussed, and that a speaker cannot speak on an issue they have previously spoken about. With that, Mari?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everyone, for letting me speak today. I'm sure you're all aware of all the planting and maintaining of council land I have done over 55 years while living at 5 Toms Road, and the numerous other projects I have been involved in which have contributed to making Titahi Bay a beautiful place to live in and visit. I'm going to speak today on the White House Road Sewer Renewal Project. While the White House Road Sewer Renewal Project is in its design stage, could you please extend the pipe to the end of Toms Road and along the paper road conservation land in front of 7 Toms Road to join up with the existing pipe outside 4 Bothamley Lane. The existing pipe runs along the paper road, the beachfront, to the south end of Titahi Beach and then on to Rukatane Point Pump Station. The rationale: 1, the existing sewer pipe running through 5 Toms Road, Titahi Bay, is inadequate in size and is not fit for purpose as it requires renewal and would not handle sewer requirements for the growing housing intensification in the area. It was installed in the early 1950s when the state houses were being built in the area, and there is a photo enclosed, and you have seen it at one of the previous meetings. The pipe currently running through 5 Toms Road is 1 metre from the house foundations along the front of the property. Any displacement of soil in this area could lead to movement of the house and its foundations. The work needed to be done on the property would cause land subsidence and erosion in the area as the area is built on sand dunes. The property would not be able to be subdivided in the future, as the western section would include sewage piping in the already piped Inanga Creek, which at the moment cannot be built on due to ongoing work of servicing these pipes. And there's copies of letters regarding Inanga Creek attached. And on the next page there is a map of the White House Road sewer pipe renewal, the proposed. Green, storm water; red, wastewater; blue, the proposed new sewer pipes, and to avoid private properties at 5 and 7 Toms Road and 4 Bothamley Lane, I've drawn a purple line. I would like you to read a letter dated the 20th of September 2003, which is attached, and on 14th of February 2012, I wrote to the council. Council piped half of our stream 10 to 12 years ago. Our neighbour in front, Vic Jennings, spoke with the council on many occasions about piping of the stream. His section was completely piped, but we were told the budget had run out and the piping of the stream would continue in the next budget. and the problems created during that time, piping of only half of the property only, not allocating money to finish the project the following year. And during that time, 14 Tiriti Road, there was 6 houses when there used to be only 1, and the filling in of the stream by a contractor and the storm water from the 6 homes was piped directly into the stream. And I'd like you to finish reading the rest of the letter. And it took 14 years to complete the piping through our property. And I'm a very keen gardener and had to watch the walls and my plants slipping. And I'm speaking today on behalf of my neighbours, Abby and Zach at 7 Toms Road, and Jacinta Callagher and her parents at 4 Bothamley Lane. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murray. Questions? Porirua Kelly.
Thank you for coming in, Mari. Can you just confirm for me that essentially one of the big concerns that you have is that, because I remember this, about 12 or 14 years ago, Porirua City Council invested a lot of money to ensure that the foundation of your house and the other property didn't subside. Is that one of the concerns that you now have? Because it looks to me like the proposed pipe is only a metre away from your foundation. Can you confirm for me, is that one of the concerns that you have?
The pipe along the side of the house was where it was falling into the stream, and the council, we contributed to it, put 2 retaining walls to replace the walls I had. And I'm talking about the front of our house now.
That's right.
So we've got the pipes at the side and at the front, as well as the sewerage pipe, which is only 1 metre away from the front of the house. And we had trouble with the subsidence on the side, which with the amount of stormwater going through due to housing intensification over the years.
Thank you. That was what myself and Ken Douglas were involved in.
Yes, that's right, and we appreciated all the help we got.
Thank you, Mari.
I note that the time has expired for the 5 minutes. I note, however, there are a couple of questions, but it may be better to put those questions to officers if they are of the type that can be done. Porirua Kelly.
With the leave of the meeting, you could request that we allow the questions.
Leave has been sought. Anyone objects?
No.
There you go. Then I'll take questions if they are for Murray. Councillor Duncan.
It's for Murray, but it's, as you say, for officers as well. I understand Stantec are doing some investigative work there already. Is that the case?
They phoned me and spoke, but they just wanted to know why I was opposing it. And so you've got the map and you can see the simple thing is don't disrupt 3 properties, go down the road and across the beachfront on the paper road. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Are officers able to confirm that Stantec are looking into that, though?
Officers?
Yes, I can confirm that Stantec have a project team that are looking at the alignment and renewal of the sewer in question.
Any other questions? Okay. Murray? Oh, sorry. Councillor Field.
So, Murray, can you just confirm, just so I've got this clear in my head, a few years ago, it was the stormwater pipe that caused the foundations in your house to be compromised, but now it's the sewage pipe that is the worry for causing your foundation
Well,
concerns.
it will. If they have to replace it or do any digging on my property, that's when I fear for the front part of my house.
Well, 1 metre is really close to a foundation, and it seems like, I would imagine that the pipe would be bigger since you said it was smaller. I also see too that the new proposed pipe is coming from a different direction. So would that mean that you would be getting more sewage through than what you currently are?
Oh yes, heaps more, because we're just getting it from the north end at the moment, but we will be getting it all because it won't be going down Bothamley Lane. It'll all be coming down Tom's Road from the shopping centre.
Thank you for coming today, and I'm really sorry that this is happening to you. I know when it's your house, it's your whare, it is quite stressful. So yeah, I just want to acknowledge that, and the work that you have done for council as well in the last
Thank
last
you very
55
much.
years. Yeah,
Thank you.
No other questions? Mari, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item, conflicts of interest. I call for any conflicts of interest that need to be declared. There are none. Notification of extraordinary business. There are no items of extraordinary business. Now, the confirmation of minutes. We are asked to confirm the minutes of the first meeting of the Joint Committee held on the 5th of September 2023. I move that we confirm these minutes as a true and accurate record of that meeting. Now you may ask a question, Pauhi Kelly.
Is that on? I do have a question. I did read, and I was going to ask you, or did I miss something?
No, there wasn't a CEO. I think we'll probably have to have that reflected in the minutes corrected. Well done for the pickup there. Spots these ones. No, otherwise. So wastewater treatment plant report July to September 2023. I'll move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Any other additional comments to be raised at this point? And then we can lead out to questions.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No, I did to the Wellington Water Report. I understand Jeremy will have one point of correction.
Here in person, the floor is yours.
Kia ora. I just wanted to clarify item treated water and 21,709 metres cubed of fully treated wastewater went into the storm with a flow that goes through the UV channel at 21,709 cubic metres of fully treated water for cleaning processes around the plant. One other thing I just wanted with the community liaison group on the 26th of October, looking at the best practical options. They looked at 4 which will be scalable. So that's happened since the report was written.
Okay. I'm going to ask for questions from...
Mary Drive gets spelt properly in the reports in future. My first question is item 10. The alarm paging system failed. Why isn't it regularly reviewed?
Plant, and so the failure was in the Moa Point treatment plant, and so treatment plant over to Seaview. So it's tested, I guess, with
Failure as well. So how many alarms like this are we?
via Moa Point, but this what it's referring to there is one disconnected, and it's one of the, I guess, the finishing off parts of the project that still has to occur.
Item 32, the Rukatani pump station cannot measure discharge volumes into Te Bay via Rukatani outfall. Why is that, and are we likely to be able to do it in the future, or is that something we're just resigned to?
Most of the pump stations are just not physically set up to be able to measure them with any accuracy. It's just a historic arrangement, and it's really difficult to measure overflow flow rate at those sites, the way the pipes are set up.
So it's not something that could be achieved?
Not readily, no.
No more. Councillor Philo.
Just going off that last point about Rukatane Point, I believe it was not last year, the year before, it came up around the upgrades to that particular pump station. Would those upgrades have addressed this?
The upgrades that were spoken about a year or so ago were talking about increasing the pumping capacity away from it. The upgrades haven't been scoped in any detail, so we haven't got that far at looking at that, that level of detail about what happens when you can't get all the flow out, how that gets measured. Probably not at this stage, but it's some way out anyway.
Because it looked like it was, from memory, like a 10 years away in the last long-term plan.
Yeah, that's
Right.
my recollection. Yeah.
Okay. So it was more about the capacity to pump. Okay. But I'm sure that would probably be something that would potentially be able to be dealt with. And Thank you for putting in this information as well. I just wanted to acknowledge that request from the last meeting. So that was really great to see. Thank you. And also too for emailing those reports a few weeks ago. I appreciate that you did, Jeremy. Thank you for that. Just maybe I didn't hear it right, but were you saying before that the alarm system at our treatment plant is connected to the alarm system at Moa Point?
Yeah, that's right. Because there's no cellular connection, no connectivity or reliable connectivity at the treatment plant, we rely on the cellular connection from the other treatment plants. So we send it via radio telemetry to the other treatment plants. And so, yeah, prior to Veolia taking over, it was coming out from the Waterloo water treatment plant, in fact. So that's just, the way the technology works. We need a cellular connection for the alarm system to operate.
And it's not working at the moment at Moa Point?
And it had a fault at that particular time. So,
Okay.
So that is something that we're looking at addressing. It's an issue at Moa Point. It's affecting Moa Point as well. That's something that we're looking at addressing via the Seaview treatment plant.
Is there any insight into a time frame around that?
I can probably answer that. We've just had fibre connected up to the Porirua plant, so that gives us much better connectivity with the internet. But we don't have a pager system based out of the Porirua plant, so we're looking at Seaview as the best option for connecting to enable the pages to go out. It's much more reliable. And so we're just looking at that currently. The fibre's only just gone in. It's taken quite a while for that to be put in place, but it's there. It's there now as of about 3 weeks ago. And so we're actively investigating that now to provide that more reliable option.
So the fibre is going to have a more positive impact on the alarm at Moa Point?
No, it's more that now that we've got that reliable connection, we can look at using Seaview's paging system, which uses the cellular network. We don't have that at Porirua.
Okay, thank you. And just to talk to the what Mari spoke about, the sewage pipe renewal. Do you have any insight that you can share in terms of why or if they are looking at the proposed purple, I don't know, do you have one of these sheets as well? Did you get one of those? Yeah, do you have any insight as to, because it seems like going that route would then mean they wouldn't disrupt, 3 resident properties. We wouldn't risk, not only inconvenience them for a long time, but also the potential damage that could happen to their property. So I was just wondering if you could maybe share some insight into whether they're looking at that option or...
I don't have any direct insight. I only just got this the other day. The team, yes, they had already talked to Murray, and this had been suggested, so they will look at that option. But they'll have a number of design considerations to look at when they're planning it, and the key one will be conflict with stormwater pipes, because these pipes flow on a very grade on a particular level. But the team had already agreed to, in discussions with Murray, I'm told, to look at alternative if they can get away from that property, because we're very aware that putting community infrastructure on private property is disruptive.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Porirua Kelly.
Oh, it's still on. Thank you. Hey, thank you for your report and the way that it's outlined as well. It makes understanding in layman's term a lot easier. My concern, though, that I do have is the discharges that actually went into our waterways, to our beach, and it was due to that alarm not working. And where you've given the explanation, and I accept that, and the proposed solution, now that you have fibre, what I'm finding a little bit uncomfortable is that you're looking at reinstating the alarm as soon as practical. What does that mean?
The alarm's in place.
But it's not, it's disconnected though.
No, the alarm's in place for the so the alarm connection is working, and it's tested on a regular basis, daily basis, and what didn't work on that particular day was the page that goes to the offsite operator, who is there's no they work normal business hours at Porirua.
So why does this say the project team is looking into reinstating the alarm as soon as possible?
It's probably not completely accurate, to be honest. It's the alarm is there, and it's operating. Which can you just give me the item number and
It's at item 11 on page 55 of our papers.
Oh, sorry, this is the sump. Yeah, so sorry, I was thinking you were talking the UV system. The sump pump's been it was removed during the hydraulic upgrade, and so we've instructed Veolia to reconnect it as soon as possible. So that's underway.
So what's as soon as possible?
I can provide that for you.
Yeah.
We've instructed.
Consequences of not having it that's gone into the stream. We still don't want recycle.
It's which feeds into the UV system. So it was fully treated and then disinfected, and it proved to be, upon investigation, fully treated.
So moving on to 12, because I'm a little bit baffled now about.
Sorry.
And he was talking to resolve the undisinfected leaks into. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's proven to be. So there's been 2 attempt site. I think you've been to the site.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the bottom of the plant, post the UV, there's the channel that has. It's one of those. Those 2 pipes have small, slow leaks.
When exactly will the work happen, and what's happening in the meantime?
It's being planned at the moment.
So 2024 to 2025, you're really saying
In the 24-25 financial year,
so.
the effluent is compliant at the sampling point at the outfall, but that's
Compliant with what?
with this and failed, and it's quite a complex job because the penstocks.
So for me, just for your your work plan, so pipes around everywhere and across our region, but where is the priority for effluent going into that are being suggested to reach a solution? It doesn't look like it's high on the priority.
I think I'd answer that by saying it is high on the priority list, but it is a complex job to fix, and it requires detailed planning. We would have liked the last repair job to have worked and for that to be sealed off, but that wasn't the case. So it is a capital project. It is subject to planning and funding. But it is high on our priority list.
So just the last question, can I get an undertaking from you then that given that you have said that that it's not a major thing to fix that alarm, to have that reinstated,
Yes,
that can happen ASAP?
it's it's been signed off and I can provide you with the time frame.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, because that still makes me uncomfortable as soon as practical. I mean, as soon as practical can mean anything, really, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, Kapai, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Representative Allen.
Just item 8, what's caused this reduced mixed liquor and the suspended solids? Is that something that's planned or is that something that's just happened?
So the mixed liquor, basically we have to get the plant in balance, and so over time we balance that flow by wasting through the centrifuge and sending it to landfill, and so we have peaks and troughs as we try and balance the plant. So if we're catching up, I guess you could say that it's gradually built up a little bit, and we're just bringing it back down. So
Okay.
it's part of the normal process, but so we will
So that's not unusual.
No. In fact, it's actually at a reasonably good level, but we just have to slightly step it up at the moment.
Okay. Thank you for providing the daily minimums and maximums that I asked for. So that's really good under point 9. I'm just following on from Liz's comment on point 12. How long has it been leaking for? The leaking streams. When did it start?
Well, it's most likely a couple of years.
I believe. And has it got bigger over that time?
No, I don't think it's got bigger. I would emphasise that the sampling point is after that leak. So the number of bacteria that are coming out are still within the consent, which is part of the assessment of effects.
Okay. Number 18, you state the full wastewater flow going into the plant has been treated since July 2023. But how does that tie into number 11, where we've had discharges of untreated wastewater?
Sorry, that actually should read since 2022, not 2023. And sorry, what was the question?
So how does it, if it's all been treated, but in item 11 we've had a discharge of untreated water, so how can you say it's all been treated?
It's all been through the aeration basin, so it's had the full biological treatment. As opposed before we had storm water flows that were bypassing the biological treatment.
Okay, I'm not sure if I quite understand that, but anyway.
So prior to the hydraulic upgrade, high flows above, I think it was about 1,000, wouldn't be able to make it through the biological process. And so when we had those storm flows, they would go around the biological process and just go straight out through the UV and not receive that full treatment. So since July 22, I think it is, we've been able to get all of the flow through the full biological process.
Okay. I'll take that then. And the other question is on point 26, you, Ngāti Toa, have accepted the invitation and you're now determining the other members of the working group. How long is that going to take?
I think we're required to meet before the end of or within 6 months of the granting of the consent, which was 12th of July. So I'm anticipating that'll happen in the next month or so.
Okay. That's me.
Okay. Councillor Phil, you had that? And Councillor Duncan?
Just one last one.
No, sorry. It's Councillor Phil, then Councillor Duncan. My apologies. I didn't make that clear. Please, Councillor Phil.
So point 31, that's really great to know that there's been no overflow discharges since July 2022. That's for the Tangeri Drive. That's great. That's a relief. And there's not too many at the city station, the Porirua City Centre station. I'd really appreciate if you could continue to provide this info as for updates. Please. Through the chair. And but coming to point 32, for Rukutane pump station, so these discharges that are wet weather ones, can you just confirm, is this raw sewage going straight into the beach because it's not gone up to the treatment plant?
Yes, it's raw sewage going to that Rukutane outfall, which is about 800 metres from the Titahi Bay beach.
Cool. Okay, so this is quite concerning because, in August, one went for 33 hours. And that's just one. There's 14 different incidences, which is more than double the amount of incidences from the other pump station. So I mean, it seems like this is an area of concern if that's going directly into our beach and not to the wastewater treatment plant where, it's all getting treated. This to me seems like it needs to be reprioritized in this upgrade happening rather than 10 years or whatever amount that is. Doesn't that seem, would you agree?
Look, there are other overflows around the network. These are only the joint venture ones. So, yes, they're definitely of a concern. I'd say the city centre ones would be larger because it's a larger part of there's bigger pipes going to it in really simple terms. Okay. So that's why that city centre storage tank has been prioritised as being the biggest improvement that we can make, and also with the Porirua Harbour being more sensitive environmentally.
I think you'll find that our beach is pretty sensitive as well as the harbour, to be fair.
Yep, and there are other overflows from Plimerton and around Patanui. So there is a process underway with looking at trying to prioritise those overflows with Regional Council and Ngāti Toa and Porirua City Council, which is underway, but it's happening probably slower than we'd like here.
So I know it's not within the the realms of this committee, but did you just say that at Plimerton are they having a similar situation as Rokotane Point, and they're getting that amount of raw sewage into their water as well?
Yes.
Okay. And just to clarify, because the city centre has bigger pipes, you're saying that would have more volume than the Rokotane Point because it's just servicing Titahi Bay only?
Yes.
And the other one is everywhere else?
Yes.
But we don't really know either in terms of because it's not measured, how much. We just know the time frame of how long it's.
No, we have. I've spoken to previous councils about this a couple of times, and we do have some idea from computer models, from hydraulic models, about what the relative sizes of these overflows are around the city.
Okay, so you do have an idea of the volume for this year compared to no?
We have every year's a bit different. We have an idea of relative volumes.
Could I please, through the chair, if you don't have the information now, give some insight into what the volume for those 14 incidences would be, so that we can get a more clearer picture about what's happening there, how much is going in.
Yep, we can provide some information for the citywide.
No, just for this one.
Situation. I'd rather provide it in context, because what I'm saying is the hydraulic model, the computer model, was run on 3 years of rainfall data, which were a couple of years ago. So I won't have figures exactly for that last year.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is what is the issue here in an asset that is relevant to this committee? What is going on at this particular pump station? Just knowing the amount of times or the duration of the discharge probably isn't enough to give enough of a description, an accurate story of what's actually going on. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, not exactly. The cause of it. Yeah, we understand the cause of it being too much stormwater getting into the pipes. But the volume is just going to be a number, to be honest. So that we know the number of times and the amount of times which pollutions come out from that pump station. And I understand we've got some understanding of the relative amount of wastewater that comes out there compared to over in Plimerton or other parts of the city. But I'm not sure there's much more to be gained by putting effort into trying to find exact numbers for this particular site.
Well, it's really just so that we get a better understanding of, if you let me know how they compare to Plimerton, that's something just to give more depth rather than these numbers in front of me.
May I suggest that, if you're requiring context officers with regards to the modelling, that it's perfectly fine to add that in any information that using that data that's disclosed to to members of the committee. But I would think that it is a reasonable suggestion in terms of trying to ascertain the degree of the volume in some way for the plant in the context of the table that's been provided on notice. Anything else, Councillor Filo? Okay, Councillor Duncan.
My one just relates to item 35, Tangari Drive pump station. I see when the report was written, contractors are completing the civil works and will be disestablished from the site in 4 weeks. It looks like a bomb site now. Is it still on target for that?
I don't have any more. Sorry, I don't have any direct knowledge beyond what my colleagues provided.
Is it possible that officers could go away and come back and give a subsequent update on that as well to members of the committee?
Certainly. Yeah.
Thank you. Probably Kelly, did you have a question? And then I'll come back to Representative Allen.
Yeah, I do have a question. But that's pretty disturbing. Just to start with, that's pretty disturbing to actually hear the extent of raw sewage that's going, effluent that's going into our waterways. But mine is related to, I've got here item 36, but I might be wrong. But what I wanted to get some sort of clarification around it is the suggestion that's been made to us by Māori about using the public assets rather than going through private property, and that you will begin to consult with them. Does it not make sense? Because I'm trying to understand why we would go that way instead of using our own assets going through the roads. Does it not make sense that we do that and that comes to us as the design recommendation in the first place, rather than wasting time consulting with the residents, because they're not going to agree to it, and that's just going to push the renewal works out even further. So does it not make sense that we investigate more fully the option of using our own assets first? And can you ask me?
The route proposed to go around will be a longer route, which would cost more money. So on the face of it, the designers have taken the most efficient route available, and they've started from that basis.
So, okay, so it's a money.
They have to hook into the property, into the pipe, the existing pipe, which I think runs at the back of number 4. So they're looking at the most efficient route with the minimal disruption.
Well, so that's not wrong. That's wrong then, because there's going to be huge disruption to all of those residents along that way. But my concern along that route that you're proposing, my concern is that the length of time that it's going to take to consult with them is going to push out the actual renewal work, and that what you might think you're saving by going through that proposal will actually end up costing us probably the same or more because of the wasted time, because we all know that the longer you leave a job, the more it costs. Would you agree with that?
Look, I haven't looked at this in any detail. The project team are just working through it at the moment, and as they do with any project.
Officers, I would note that there's been more than one member of this committee and in public forum, some concern around that process, have understood that the team that's tasked with this has met with Murray and has endeavoured to look at that as an option. I think it would be important to reflect that there is concern around the impacts to those on private properties, and perhaps whatever gets produced by that team, if you could relay to them that a full commentary as to the viability of the various options is made transparent as part of that process. Anything else, Porirua Kelly? Representative Allen.
Just a quick question. Item 34, can you confirm the lizards have all been relocated and that the earthworks have started? Michael want to know.
I actually don't know directly, but I've seen trucks there doing earthworks.
Any other questions? Wow, congratulations, everybody. You knocked off all of my questions bar one, so well done. So we saved some time there. I do want to, however, just reiterate the thanks around the incorporation of the tables and other baseline figures that were mentioned in points 30 and 9. Thank you. Would like to consider that that be an ongoing process for subsequent reports, in so much that it shows trends or at least shows progress that's being made in terms of these real deliverables when it comes to things like discharges. Progress on point 36 has already been asked, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to ask officers. They don't have to. They won't be able to, give an answer in any detail at this stage because it's not actually inside this reporting period. But I'm going to highlight that there was an incident related to entry to the plant last month, which is outside the reporting period, by Wellington Free Ambulance Service being unable to get access through the gate at the top by the plant entrance. I understand that there may have been some miscommunication between Free Ambulance and the operators. I'm wondering if officers have any commentary around, from the plant operator's perspective, as to the events leading up to that incident and what measures, if any, to look at mitigating that problem from happening again in terms of being able to have free flowing access for emergency services to get down to that section of the coast. I would also point out that I know that this is in the next reporting period. You may choose to put it in the next report, but I do want to put this. I want to ask the question now.
I believe that's controlled by parks. I know the operators do lock the gate, but I think it's a parks lock, so I'm not sure that it's. I don't think it's something that we actually control.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it at that for now, and we can follow it up offline. Any other questions? Awesome. Do you want to do commentary? Because we are now at 3:47. Or should we just get on carry on to the next item? Right.
I'm just
Councillor Porirua Kelly, sorry.
debating a note that I shared with some of my colleagues about and I think, no, I won't share it. It is inappropriate.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's not good, eh?
I think, Porirua Kelly, if I've understood the subtext there are concerns about the meaningful reporting and transparency about the degree of harm from discharges at certain plant facilities. Officers are aware of it. Officers now will understand the context in subsequent reports, the importance of making sure that the commentary reflects that this has been taken with tighter and even stronger scrutiny. With that, Councillor Field.
Yeah, just around because I know there's a list of what you want us to put forward for our LTP, and so I just wanted to say that can you give reference to Rukutane Point Pump Station in that as well for consideration, because I mean it is a beach that a lot of us use. For raw sewage to be not making its way to the pump station and going out into the outlet, it's a bigger topic to talk about rather than just discharges from the treatment plant. This is, raw stuff going out. So I would like to know, I would like that to be considered that comes before us for what we approve for LTP.
Any comments from officers on that?
I guess, we fully hear what you're asking us about, Rukutane Point, but in the wider context of Porirua's wastewater overflows, I guess the point that Steve was making is this is one of many, and significant investment is required across the overall network, and so there's a lot of work going on with ascertaining the list of priorities, of which there are many. So yeah, we fully understand what you're saying, and we agree it's not good. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. Something else to consider too, though, is that they're getting it from both ends. They're getting the discharge that happens from the wastewater treatment plant and directly from this pump station at Titahi Bay. So I fully hear what you're saying too. But it seems like this one just keeps getting pushed back since the last LTP. So it would be good to get a broad overall picture, like you say, so that we can make an informed decision on it. Yeah, thank you.
Porirua Kelly.
Just a reflection actually on your last comments, that this is one of many, that really isn't good enough. That really isn't good enough at all, one of many. You can say that, but what's the solution? Like, what are you doing to fix it? Have you got a list and ticking them all off, or is it too big for you even to think about where you're at? Because that statement, it's one of many, just really isn't good enough, eh? And I would like to know, in the priority rating, where is what we're talking about right now, specifically raw sewage and effluent going into Titahi Bay Beach? Where is that in your list of priorities?
Before I ask officers to respond, but it may also be helpful for officers to explain it in the context of the LTP and where that is in terms of councillors receiving that information, so as to go out to the community for consultation as part of next year's consultation.
Yes, thank you.
Through the chair, I think Porirua City councillors have a meeting on the 16th of November. Mr Baker, who's sitting in the back there, will be bringing the overall capital program, so you'll be able to get an idea of what money you're giving to Wellington Water capital-wise, and also OPEX-wise, or what, and you'll reflect on the sort of level of rates increase you want. And then shortly after, you'll have Wellington Water come to you and say, this is what we actually need, and there'll be a gap. But in terms of what they need, these gentlemen can go back and reflect, okay, we've got a message that we'd like to clean up an outfall point. What's the amount of money that would be required for that? The bigger question about when it rains heavily, there are points all over Porirua that discharge, Porirua East, all over the place. How do you fix that? My understanding is that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars each year, and there is no way that's affordable. So this is this conversation about take away the Three Waters from Porirua City Council and get it into a new entity and see how they get the money to fund it. So in simple terms, this council over the last couple of years has substantially increased funding to Wellington Water in the capital space, but it's still sitting this year at about 66 million. Wellington Water would tell you, to get on with this, it should be about 200 million a year. Now, we haven't got the number of contractors to do that work, but that's the size of the problem.
Okay, I get that, but it hasn't answered my question, because what I'm asking and what I hear all the time is that you guys want more money, that we've got this huge problem, our infrastructure is stuffed, and you want more money, and you come to the councils, not just this one, to everybody else, to get more money to sort out the issue. The question I'm asking you, because I get that, because you ask us all the time, what I'm asking is, what are you spending the money on? What I want to know is, and that's the question I asked, in your list of priorities, it's not about your LTP or what councillors are saying, because you've already got the money that you've asked from all of the councils. What I want to know is what, in your list of priorities, where does Titahi Bay sit to stop raw sewage going into our beaches and waterways? I get it, we've got a huge problem, but listening to the amount that has been going into our waterways, this was my playground, for goodness sake. I grew up here. I got all our kaimoana out of the sea. We can't eat jack out of our waterways now. Ngāti Tō were known for the way that we fed our manuhiri when they came, and we got it all out of our harbour. And all around Stevenson's farm, all around Shelley Bay, we got that out of there. We can't get jack out of there now. So my question I'm asking you, I don't want to know about where it is everywhere else, because I know we've got a big problem. I want to know, with the extra money that you have been given and the budgeted money that you get all the time, where in your list of priorities is Titahi Bay?
Officers, can you please prepare for the committee on the current LTP, current funding, where the priority of this work would lie. Officers will note that there is further commentary coming to Council for future investment as well. So if there is a need to accelerate work, there is, as has been pointed out before, has to go into LTP. There will be a rating impact most potentially, and also other issues that are not necessarily the purview of this committee, but for the full Council who currently have the purse strings around this. If there's no other questions, Councillor Field.
Just with respect, I think, there's going to be a rate increase regardless. It's what it is there's this amount of money, whereabouts does Titahi Bay?
Fair point.
Right? That's where it is. And it's also, I heard what you said, Andrew, around all the millions and millions of dollars. And to me, Rokutane Point has been waiting for an upgrade. It doesn't even tell us how much is coming out. We don't know in volume, so clearly it's needing some work done. And surely there's been other pump stations that have been upgraded. So this is just one that also needs that attention, and we need to know where it is.
I think officers have received that feedback. Unless you want to make any comment on that? No?
All understood. We'll try and get it down to quite a simple picture, I think, in terms of coming back to you about what it would cost and how it rates compared to Mana and some other places around Porirua. Yeah. And I think it is. I mean, simple language from me. 3 waters, drinking water is most important. So we would never want a baby to die in Porirua because of contaminated water. And then wastewater second, stormwater third. So we have people whose houses are flooding. When it comes to wastewater, the priority has been getting the treatment plant fixed, so you can see the money going there. But again, the whole network, as pipes break, etc., we're fixing it. So,
I'm in the interest of obviously maintaining order, and obviously this is a debate that's going to go on beyond this meeting as well. Maybe we should move to a vote on this item and then move on to the next item. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. All right. So with that in favour, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The motion is passed. Kia ora, everybody. And before we finish, 2 things. One, thank you very much to officers from Wellington Water for again coming here to face scrutiny from representatives as part of the community's need to be made aware of the issues. I also want to thank committee members for sharing their very well thought and well emoted feelings on this subject. Please continue to do so as we move through this agenda item and in the subsequent meetings. Kia ora. Let us move now on to 7.2, Construction and Demolition Facility Proposal. I'm going to move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Duncan, thank you. David, Nigel. Nigel, thank you for coming in. I'm going to take the item as read, but if you have anything that is additional to the item on the agenda, please take the opportunity to speak now, then we'll go to questions. All right. Nigel.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and councillors and representatives. The item is about construction and demolition waste, so just so we're aware, it's treated and untreated wood, jib, concrete, steel, glass, plumbing materials, all sorts of things that actually can be taken out of the waste stream. It's a direction that's been held by the National Waste Strategy that we've got to address it at some point, and it's always been in our waste management and minimisation plan that it's a priority that we need to address. Region-wide, in our early reports, there's about 520,000 tonnes, and we have a proportion of that currently is disposed of in Porirua. The business case that we looked at for this project was done a couple of years ago, and that shows it was viable to actually carry out this project. We have partners with Hutt City Council and Kapiti Coast District Council, and Kayanga Ora were involved in initially and have since expressed their continued interest. We've got to a point where we have got a concept design and a developed design. and we have funding sourced from the Ministry for the Environment for capital machinery, and part of that funding also goes to Hot City and Kapiti Coast. The facility allows us to provide services for businesses. A lot of the new government contracts require at least 60 to 80% to be recycled. So this will be a huge help to those businesses in Porirua, and it'll meet our objectives in the waste minimisation plan and central government targets for us. Happy to take questions.
Thank you. Questions? I'll start with Representative Allen and Councillor Filo.
Not ready. Thank you. My question centres around, I understand that it needs to be done and it's part of the national waste minimisation. My questions centre around removing this will leave less waste to bury with sludge, which could impact on odour issues for Tawa residents. Your report states that up to 35% of the 53% of the C&D material could be recycled and recovered, which is basically almost 19% of total waste at the landfill. How's that going to impact on disposal of sludge?
Okay, David's going to answer that.
Chair, through the chair. As it happens at the moment, and you heard Jeremy McKibben talking about the sludge volumes being a bit peaky and trophy from time to time. Over the course of the last couple of years, on average, we've got quite a bit of headroom in as much as the sludge that we're taking in versus the amount of general waste that's being mixed in with it. So our ratio, as determined through our resource consent, we're a wee way off that yet. We could pull this material out and we wouldn't necessarily be impacting how much we are required to mix in with the sludge.
On that note, when you say wee way off, can you quantify that? I mean, like, what happens with the infill housing and everything that's going on and more people creating the sludge? When will we reach break even?
I would like to actually bring that to the next committee. We've done the projections for the last LTP and also doing the projections for this LTP. The mixing ratio is 5 to 1. Off the top of my head, we're sitting somewhere around between 9 and 10 to 1. So there's some room there, but for comfort for the committee, because this is only one of a number of diversion initiatives that we want to undertake, I'd like to just set that out as a projection so you can see where we would be heading with the sludge versus the general waste.
Sorry to interrupt Representative Allen's questions, but what you're alluding to is that in terms of the broader range of diversion, they would also incorporate the potential for organics as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
I do.
Yeah, please.
Item 11, you mention an outline plan. So one, what is that? But then you talk about it meeting the consent requirements. So does this require a new consent or is this part of the current landfill consent? And what happens when your current landfill consent expires in 2030?
Okay. An outline plan, the whole project comes within the landfill designation, and as part of the consent, it's a resource recovery facility, so it's allowed to be on the site. An outline plan is a consenting requirement which allows the consents officers to make sure that it meets all those requirements, basically.
Okay.
I might just add to that with regard to the current consent expiring in 2030. Wherever we land, we will still have to have some form of consent from 2030 onwards. It may be a consent for a partially closed site, but it may, if that's the case, it would also be a consent to either continue doing the C&D diversion on site or have some other form of diversion on site.
Okay, thank you. If I may, through the chair. Item 12. I personally will find it really useful in this report to have like a map showing me where Site E is and how that relates to other parts of the landfill and how it relates to roading in Tawa and the Meridian Road. So it's more visual. I can understand that better. I don't know if you've got something you could send on that.
Yep, we have indeed. And the site itself is just above the existing transfer station. So it's just on the left.
So east, towards Tawa side.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it okay to ask a question about the ongoing costs at this point? Yeah.
Is that still in this item?
Yep.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So you say that it's basically going to be cost neutral for council. What happens if it's not? What's the maximum exposure council could be liable to?
Okay, if it gets to a point where it's not cost neutral for council, then we would certainly revisit whether we carry on with the facility.
A question on that then. The main cost pressures that would put the council in that position would be related to central government, for instance, the solid waste minimisation levy. So if there was a measure to reduce that levy, contrary to what has happened over the last 6 years, that would be a main trigger, would it not?
It could be, but at this point in time, with the levy going up to $60 a tonne, it makes this plant economic.
Yeah. Now, sorry, Councillor Philo.
Okay, with just going to the funding and the cost, I'm just curious, why does the funding go to the Hutt Valley Council and Kapiti?
Okay, to make this whole operation economic over the long term, we're trying to make sure we have hubs in Hutt City and Kapiti. That's where quite a lot of development is going on at the moment, and it's to make sure that we meet our obligations under the WMP to have regional services.
So when you say hubs, what is a hub? Is that another C&D site in Kapiti and?
Yeah, they're collection centres. And we're still working through some of the finer detail. It might involve joint operations to manage concrete, for example, or it might be sending skips straight to our processing facility.
So, Nigel, would you mind sort of telling me how that could look in terms of how would that work? What would be the process if someone has demolition in the hut? What would happen?
Okay, so the demolition material at the moment goes to the transfer station in Silverstream, at Silverstream Landfill.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that might be sorted or unsorted. The unsorted material is likely to be delivered straight to our facility instead of being delivered to the transfer station at Silverstream Landfill. But in terms of the unsorted material, we might have a common market where we ensure that we get efficiencies for the sale of that product.
So that would be the hub, would be where there's a common market.
Yep.
For instance, what would the concrete, how would that look?
It depends who we get to do the crushing and aggregate work on that. For example, it might be Goodman's or it might be Centreport, who've got an operation already. They would come in and do that crushing, and then the market, the sale of that material will go to market. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
Yep. Currently, concrete crushing is in very, very hard demand because rock quarry has gone up in price by 63%. So everyone wants concrete at the moment.
Would all of these different, because what I'm hearing is sort of 3 different areas, 3 different kinds of specialties. So are they all operating under their own umbrella? Like if the concrete people, like in terms of their, no, they're all privately operation businesses, are they?
Yep.
They're going to lease the land.
They are indeed. What we will have a preferred supplier to run the operation, and it will be up to them to work out the finer details, which we're talking about now, about how that will work in practice.
Okay. So this 2.1 million from the Waste Minimisation Fund, that is the government funding that's going towards the equipment and everything else. And did I read somewhere in there that anything extra, the business that's going to lease it will come up with it? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I can show those around if you want. That's the actual machinery. So what's called the yellow gear, which is the diggers and the machinery that is necessary to support that plant, will be supplied by the contractor who will run the plant. So we won't have any involvement in that.
Oh. Well, it sounds good to me. It sounds like it won't be any financial burden on our ratepayers, but at the same time it will be addressing some of the levies that they are affected by in our landfill, and potentially better for our environment to some extent. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Field. Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, crushing concrete sounds to me like a pretty noisy exercise. Knowing the odour problems we have at the landfill, is there a consent for levels of noise from this plant?
There will be noise restrictions on plant. This particular plant is not that noisy.
Porirua.
Debate rather than a question.
I'm happy to take your comment now and then we'll look at
This thing. Hey, first of all, I love this photo. It looks like something from Star Trek. But I just wanted to say that I'm happy to support this recommendation. I think that it's been well planned. I do hope it isn't going to be impacting further on the odour issues that we have, but it seems to me that this is a solution. And I really like the fact that the hubs are going around the region, because essentially that will stop everybody going to the same place, which will then mean it will no longer be cost neutral for whoever is using it, because we witnessed that when the landfill in Granada closed, and then we started getting everybody from Wellington coming to use Porirua landfill because ours was cheaper. And it didn't matter that they had to drive a lot further. So good to see the vision and the thinking behind this to ensure that it is sustainable and that it works. And I especially like that it's not costing anything to the city, to us as ratepayers. And love that it's a really good use of the grant. So well done.
Representative Allen.
So just one more question. I'm not sure if I read it in here. I assumed that Enviro Waste or Enviro New Zealand would be running C&D plant. Is that a given or is it not? And if it's not, how will this affect the operations of them operating Spicer landfill?
Through the chair, it's a given. So early on, we had a conversation about, do we go out to the market and do an expression of interest, or do we say, Enviro Waste are running the landfill, it's in our best interest to try and hook them in to do this, and what would a contract look like that is cost neutral to the council? Could they see a market for it? So we quite carefully looked at what the pluses and minuses were of, that sort of arrangement. And interestingly, you've got a gas conversation coming up where you can see that sort of stuff. So early on, we got ourselves across the mark that they were the ones who we went to and said, look, you're there, you do this in other landfills throughout New Zealand, what sort of facility would we need, and got their expertise and brought them in. So we've already walked down quite far that it would be difficult to get away from it, other than if we go back to conversations about odour, noise, cost neutral. If we find this thing, while it's got a really good intent, doesn't work for some reason, we'll exit it. That's the intention. MFE's paid for the equipment. The equipment can be picked up and given to someone else or put somewhere else. That's so if it works, it works. If there's some fish hook that came out that we weren't aware of, then we'll have a review of it. And so there've been conversations early on about, what happens if Enviro Waste makes lots of money out of this? Should we have a share of the money? Well, actually, we came from the point of view that the right thing to do is to probably keep C&D, or as much of it as we could, out of the landfill. But again, you go back to what's the mix? Porirua is growing. We know what's happening in the east with demolition of homes and the rebuild there. And then there's been a whole big conversation about there's a real risk around recycling markets, and interesting conversations about wood. People are interested in wood that is this long, but they're not interested in wood that long. Well, who knows about that? It's Enviro Waste, not offices or anything else. Does that help?
I have questions, unless anybody else has got any. No. So, first of all, would like to share the sentiment that has already been raised of the work that has been done thus far on this project. C&D waste is the largest proportion of waste that ends up in the landfill currently in Porirua, but this is not an issue just contained to Porirua, it's across the entire Motu. Serious work being done on this is going to help slow down the filling of the landfills. Irrespective of wherever a landfill is, slowing down the filling of it is important because I think the community does not like putting more landfills in, and trying to get closer to a circular economy is what we should be aiming for. My question, however, is in regards to points 20 and 26, and it's just around the contracting and in particular social procurement. Noting that officers have already talked about that they have a preferred provider, how does council make sure that as part of that process, because this would normally be covered off as part of a tender, to maximise the recruitment of locals, training of locals, making sure that people who are here in Porirua can have access to those jobs as part of a new enterprise?
Yep. EnviroWaste currently has a contract with us, and that in all our contracts right across council, we do require local employment where we can.
Okay, so the next part of it is kind of alluded to by 20.22, and that is, and also the answers from officers again. There is an opportunity, as I understand it, for officers to check whether or not this is, if this is implemented, that there's a period of time for the council to check whether or not this is still a viable approach from our perspective. Again, this isn't necessarily like a tender where there would be like a 2+3 type arrangement. So what is the trigger for that review? Is it set by council, or is there a contract expectation?
I think that will be set in the contract itself. But equally, if the preferred contractor does run into some problems with some markets, then we would address it then. So
I guess I would look to have more clarity at some point once those negotiations are complete in terms of that, to come back to the committee.
Yeah, if I could give you surety, I mean, you start with cost neutrality. We want to do the right thing, but no cost. Then you get into, well, we've had odour issues. So if we take C&D out, would the odour be worse? So we need an exit there if that happened. You go noise, but we've discussed dust, anything like that. If there are issues that crop up that are unforeseen, we need the exitability, and the exitability pretty quick. So that will be built into the contract.
My last question is just around oversight. It would appear that based on this, that it would seem that subsequent reports of the operations of this part of the plant would sit under this committee for review and oversight. Is that the expectation of officers? Is it likely to be conveyed in a separate report item, or to be folded into the existing plant operation?
Through the chair, I would imagine it would just be through David's normal report in terms of the paragraph to be updated on how it's going, like everything else. That's what we normally seek. If it's a bigger matter, we can do separate reports for you. I'm quite happy to work with you, actually, as the chair, about what works for you in that respect.
I'll take soundings from the committee members after this meeting if they have any feedback around that. Sorry.
If I could make just a supporting comment there. In a later report today, I'm reporting specifically on one project, being Cell 3, just the offer that if committee was interested, we could report separately while the implementation or the construction is in progress, and then embedded in part of my standard report once the operation is underway.
Okay. We'll probably have a decision about that by the next meeting, I would suspect. Okay. No other questions? Okay, here we go, people. We're going to move the motion. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, no. Motion's passed. Thank you, everybody, for your partai. Let us now proceed on to 7.4. Update on construction of Spicer Landfill South 3. It sounds like I just heard that said by somebody, is it? Oh, 7.3. My apologies. I got a little bit ahead of the gun there. Sorry, peeps. Indeed. 7.3, Spicer Landfill Joint Committee Update, July to September 2023. I will move the motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Fielder, thank you very much. David, again, please consider the items on notice as read. Any additional information at the start, please, and then we'll go to questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just firstly, a minor correction to paragraph 32. We're talking about orchards, not orchids. Also, introduction for the committee to Emily Chow, Senior Waste Management and Minimisation Advisor in my team. I've asked Emily to join the table as I've put in a couple of pages here in reference to the biogas to energy proposal, which Emily has been doing the heavy lift of preparing the agreement with LMS on. So just preparing us for questions that might come and asking Emily to contribute. Other than that, all up to you.
Thank you, officers. Questions? Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, look, this sounds really, really positive. I love it. I'm unsure about the ownership of the plant. Now, LMS Energy are going to have ownership of all the pipes. What about the existing pipes that are already there taking gas in?
Yep, through the chair. We will retain ownership of those pipes, so we currently own them. There are assets as well as the flare and the backup flare that's currently on site. So what LMS will do is basically put in their facility. They will also provide a smaller flare to ensure that any gas that isn't burned through their facility is burned through a flare, so we get maximum destruction.
Okay. Any other questions? Representative Allen.
Of course, I'll have some. Any impact on odour likely to happen? Positive or negative?
Yeah, so it should be a positive thing for our landfill. Ultimately, we're working through this agreement with with LMS on the context that the relationship between Enviro Waste New Zealand and LMS will be a good relationship where they will be able to manage the odour problems that we currently have, as well as hopefully improve them in the longer term in terms of capturing the gas and enabling more destruction.
Okay, thank you. Item 31, I just want to query, you said further actions to reduce odour included A, the active tip face was moved eastward. Isn't eastward closer to Tawa? And wouldn't that make potentially the odour worse rather than reduce odour?
I think that is meant to be northeast. It came down the hill a little bit, crept eastward, but was further down the hill. I can clarify that.
Okay. Item B on the same point, number 31, 8 gas wells have been disconnected, 4 have been reconnected. What's happening with the other 4?
So as the active face moves around, we have to disconnect and then reconnect gas wells as the face moves. So at the moment, at the right time of writing of this report, we've got 4 disconnected, which are probably disconnected for the period that the active face is being worked where those wells actually are.
I get what you mean,
Yeah.
okay. And if I may, on page 70, where you've got, on my page 70, I hope it's the same, point 35 and 36, and also the graphs on page 71. I'm just trying to read my own note, actually. Can you actually, like for odour complaints, can you actually give us the numerical values as well? Because I just find it a bit hard looking at this graph sometime thinking, was that 1 complaint or 3 complaints or 4 complaints? So are you able to provide the numerical numbers as well in the report?
Yeah, just for clarity then. So with regard to the first graph versus the second graph, the y-axis is the number of complaints.
Yep, I realise that. But if it's between 20 and 25, how do I know if it's 21 or 24?
Understood, yeah. We can label those with the actual number.
Yeah. And the other thing, just to point out, I haven't checked it this morning, but when I checked it yesterday, your graph on your website, your monthly graph on the website only goes up to August. It hasn't got September there yet, and I realise it's too soon probably to have October. I think that was all, but it will be for now.
Okay. On that last question, can you officers give some clarity as to how, when those graphs on the upside are updated? Is there a specific date that you guys aim to?
Yeah, so normally they have been getting updated on a 2-weekly basis. So 2-weekly, the officer that was responsible for that job is on a reduced time at the moment for medical reasons. I have not located somebody who can take over that, but I will do that and make sure that we've got a backup, or at least
Through the chair, we'll
transfer
get
it
it
from time
sorted.
to time.
Let's go to
Yep.
administration. Yep, we'll get it done.
One further question, the 0800 number, which was down, so I discovered it was down when I tried to make a odour complaint, and it took almost a week for it to come back up. How long had it actually been down for before it was noticed? And why was it down?
Through the chair. So it was down because of one NZ, formerly Vodafone, had made some alterations to its network and then inadvertently taken it down, as our understanding. The time that had elapsed between first notification, which was from Representative Allen, to the time where our IT service had advised it was reinstated, was, as I recall, less than 2 days. But we don't know how long it had been down for because no one had called it.
Or they caught it and they couldn't get through?
Any other questions? Councillor Duncan and Porirua.
Moving of the weighbridge, that fascinated me there. I thought if we're going to sell 3A later in the next one, wouldn't you need to move the weighbridge closer to that cell?
No, the weighbridge will stay exactly where it is. So cell 3A is effectively at the northern end of the landfill, the kiosk, the current weighbridge, the current RTS, the current gas flare will all stay where they are at the moment.
Okay. And the idea of moving it on to the private customer, if you like, area, are we looking at changing the charging regime for that then?
Understood. Sorry, we are going to be putting in a second weighbridge. So the current one will stay where it is. As we've had a couple of faults on that, as reported last time, we're now moving into installing a second weighbridge, which will be on the residential side. Whether we then move to a different charging method on the residential side, I can bring to a later committee if we feel it's warranted, but essentially it'll be there as a redundancy or as a backup if the existing one should fall apart or be out of service.
Okay. Porirua. Mate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this because it's actually a question of you. I'm really sorry I was distracted at the beginning. I just want some clarification about the process. So we have three options and a recommendation. Are we going to debate the options, or are we going to put the recommended option?
I would happy to put the full recommended option as one whole, but if you wanted to foreshadow that you have an objection to part of it, then or want to vote for an amendment to change one of those recommendations, then that would be the process.
No, I don't. I actually was quite happy to move the recommended option that at item 30.
Yeah.
Because as for what we vote on, rather than debate all of the options, unless there is a debate that the rest of the committee wanted to.
If there isn't any, that's a fine suggestion. Yeah. You're clear of what we intended to do? Okay, excellent. Any questions? Any other questions?
Sorry.
Representative Allen?
Just found another one. Just on your health and safety report, can you explain to me the different statuses? So you've got a incident from the 6th of July which has been submitted. So why hasn't that been closed? And what's an incident that's under review and what's one that's for approval? Just what the different categories mean.
Through the chair, the report here on health and safety is not actually off Porirua City Council system. This comes directly from EnviroWaste's own internal health and safety system. I will actually find out or get by way of definition something I can add to the table of exactly what each of those things mean. We will assume that submitted will mean it's gone to EnviroWaste's health and safety management team, and that under review probably means that the team is looking at whether there are any actions that need to be taken, but I will confirm for each of those statuses which they've used what the actual definition is and bring that back to the next committee.
They also at the risk of creating more, or being accused of creating more verbiage. It probably is a good thing for that in general principle for any subsequent reports as well, because members of the public may not necessarily read the last 5 reports and understand the commentary. It is again more useful to have that information as part of the legend in there. Any other questions? Okay, I got some. Point 18. So can I just get reconfirm with regards to the ETS? Is there a change to our ETS liabilities by the implementation of this commercial arrangement?
Through the chair. The ETS does fluctuate over time, so as climate change becomes more of an issue, it will likely increase. However, the destruction of the gases, the whole idea behind LMS coming in is to incentivise additional capture and additional destruction. It may not have any further reduction on the ETS, but it may not make it worse either.
Okay.
But it's incentivised to capture more gas and destroy more. Ideally, it should have a positive impact on it.
Okay. I think I understand in terms of the context of the ETS as a unit that goes up because of its scarcity of value, and we don't need to go to Economics 101 on that. But has the modelling anticipated the possibility of a drawdown in the amount of methane that would be produced at the landfill if there is a diversion of organic waste from that location? And if so, has that been communicated through to the contractor?
So LMS is aware of the diversion activities we're intending to take, being the organic processing facility. They're aware of this.
Is there?
They have also included that in their projections.
Okay. Do officers believe that there is any risk at all to council if there is a point at which it becomes no longer economically feasible for LMS to continue operation of the plant?
So we're undertaking a lot of due diligence with our legal team as well as through LMS and our technical advisors. So we are hoping to produce an agreement that reduces risk to council should those issues present.
Okay. And I'm just going to go back and check the point 50 because I didn't want to lose that. Yes, this is regards to the weighbridge and the funding for that in the part of the long-term plan. Can officers give some clarity that the investment in the new weighbridge is offset by the revenue that the landfill also produces. So it is not necessarily a sole impact on the ratepayer when it comes to long-term plan, but rather a down payment which is paid back through the fees and charges at the plant. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr Chair, that's correct. So that's part of the capital program that we have for the landfill, which is the ring fencing of the landfill financials and paid through the charge at the gate.
Okay. I'm going to just have comment and we'll go to the vote. I think pending Poiriua's Kelly's suggestion of recommended in point 30. The moment that I saw this as a proposed item, I was very happy to see that some work had been provided in the space. I'm in strong support of trying to reuse, what could be considered noxious fumes from a landfill. Obviously, it's been burnt off already, but if it can create some benefit which then helps council's overall operations and liabilities to ETS, that is a good thing in terms of being able to be responsible in response to the climate crisis. I am also want to thank officers when this, and I'm going to just disclose that this was initially, regards to the plant, was initially going to be covered under public excluded. I felt that it was important, notwithstanding the need to not step into any areas of commercial sensitivity, that the ratepayers and the wider public are aware of the work that we're doing in this space and give a full opportunity to be transparent about that. So I thank officers for being able to incorporate that into the report in the public section. And thank you again for the work more broadly. Well, with all that said, we will now go to the vote.
Through you, Mr Chair.
Porirua Kelly.
So the recommendation that we're voting on, there's 1, 2 and 3.
Yes.
So what I'd like to move is that we include 4 as the item 30, the recommendation that we as a committee support as item 4, which is the preferred model is full ownership and operation by LMS Energy. Under this model, council is simply a provider of gas and has no requirement for capital investment or risk regarding the facility is carried by LMS Energy.
I'm mindful that it is already noted as the recommended option, and if we voted, that would be the case, that would be the option.
Okay.
It may save us.
Is it added as 4?
So that would be the preferred option. That would be the option that we would take forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because it's been put on recommendation as that option.
Okay, so it's so what I'm saying is, as written on our papers, there's 3
Yes,
recommendations.
there's 3 recommendations.
So is it now 4 as the preferred option at item 30?
It's implied with regards the recommendation is 3 is implied, but through the material that's incorporated subsequently, which is on page 69, the recommended option.
Okay,
My
so
reading
it's
of that is that it's already encompassed in that 3rd recommendation.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that we're all clear on that, because obviously we don't want to vote without anyone being unclear about that. So just so we're clear here,
Yeah.
there are 3 recommendations. Recommendation 3 would be, that's on page 66.
Yeah, so there's
Yep.
3 options.
That's right.
So we're going to go
We're going with the preferred option. I don't know what that's called. And
which one is it?
officers, can you give clarity as to the recommended option is otherwise known as either options 1, 2, or 3?
So it's option 1.
Okay,
option 1.
So option 1.
Okay. So again, we are voting on option 1.
Okay, so as a mover, can I just speak to that?
I'm sorry,
Well,
I've
you're
moved
moving
the
it.
motion.
Oh,
yes.
you're moving it.
Yes,
Okay,
that's right.
well,
'cause-
then I'll second it.
So hang on. So you want to move an amendment to that to just incorporate that language so it's absolutely clear that it's option 1, because my reading of it as chair is that it is already made clear in the subsequent documents that it is option 1, the recommended option, as part of that recommendation.
Well, I'm happy to be guided by you, Mr. Chair. If you think that it's what's in the recommendation 1, 2, and 3,
Yeah.
that's fine with me. All I wanted to say is that I support this wholeheartedly. I think that the fact that both cities, Porirua and Wellington, this is in their what's it called, the waste management and minimisation plan, so it meets those indicators. And plus, I like that you went out. I like the vision. You went out. You got legal advice. And I just like the innovation of this, that we're resolving a problem. Somebody's going to make some money off it, and that's ka pai, but it's not going to be any cost or risk to us as ratepayers. So fully support this. And I just want to thank the officers for their mahi, but also their vision. I think that's great. We want to see some innovative solutions more.
I agree with the sentiment wholeheartedly. So he mea tautoko tērā. If everybody else is clear about what we are voting on, then that is my only expectation. Officers are clear, councillors are clear, time for the votes. All those in favour say aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody, and thank you again to officers. Okay, now I won't jump the gun, because now we're time for 7.4, update on construction of Spicer Landfill Cell 3. I'll move the motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Fiedler, thank you. I will ask again, David, for councillor comment. Again, item has been taken as read, but please, any additional commentary at this stage?
Yes, thank you, Chair. One very small comment to make regarding paragraph 12. I've noted initial construction season for Cell 3 will begin in October 2025. That should be 2024, October next year.
Okay. Any questions? Representative Allen.
Item number 10, what is a construction season?
It's essentially a full season from summer through till winter. Just enables us to be able to do earthworks and be able to plan them through wet months versus dry months and so on.
So it's a year. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I actually don't have any questions for this either. Wow.
I do have one.
Representative Allen.
I do have one. Item number 22, you said that you've received a cultural impact report. Is that something you can share with this committee?
Yeah, through the chair, I see no reason why not. We can do that.
Okay. And there are no issues with regards to, because it's not a pending resource consent, it's just the existing operative, right? Okay. Oh, cool. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Let's go to the vote. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, no. Carried. Look at that. Moving on. He haere tonu. Now, we are going on to item 7.5, Wastewater Treatment Plant and Spicer Landfill Financial Report, July to September 2023. I will move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Before I go on, I just wanted to suggest that as part of this recommendation, committee members will remember that there was a motion that was passed at the last meeting regarding penalties for the operations, and that as part of the briefing for this meeting, I requested an update on that specific motion because it did not seem clear from the language of the report. An email was sent, and you will all have received it yesterday in regards to that. I'd like to incorporate that into the documentation tabled as well, if nobody has any objection to that. Excellent. Well, with that in mind, again, David, please take the items as read and please provide any commentary before we go to questions.
Thank you, Chair. I've got no further commentary on the report.
Okay. Then, questions? Going. Oh, well done. Well, then I'll take it that there are no more questions. We will go to the vote. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, no. Carried. Well done, peeps. We are now at the end of the meeting. So well done to everyone. Well done to officers for your support of the materials and production of the reports on notice. We'll go to the karakia whakamutunga. I'm sure it's going to be brought up on screen very shortly. There it goes. So everybody get ready. Toru wha. Kia horo te marino. Kia whakapapa paunamu te moana. He huarahi mā tātou e te rangi nei. Aroha atu. Aroha mai. Tātou. Ia tātou katoa. Hui e. Tae ki e. Kia ora, everybody. See you soon.